Okay. Come on. There we go. All right, here we go. So, interest. So if you, so they're kind of tied together a little bit, by the way. This is really the main reason why you're investing in stocks, or why you're putting your money into the bank. Because they will pay you, you say, hey, here, I want you to keep my money in your bank. They will pay you interest. That's what it's called. They will literally pay you money. Just give you some money for allowing them to keep your money in their bank. So let's just look at this real quick. I'm going to just make up some numbers that are easy for me to deal with.
So if I tell
No, that's different. We're not going to talk about that.
So if I tell them to hold like $1 million in the bank.
Well, if you had $1 million put in the bank, they'd probably pay you more money than other people. The more money you put in, the more, like, not just the higher the dollar amount would be, but like the higher the percentage even would be. So let's just say, we'll say 100,000. Let's say you have $100,000. Who has $100,000? Frankie had $100,000 first. Actually, pretty good. So Frankie goes into the bank. And you really don't need to correct me. So Frankie goes into the bank, and Frankie says, "Hey, I got $100,000.
Wow.
I'm going to let you, Mr. Bank Person, keep my $100,000." And they're going to say, "Allison, let's talk." So they talk to her and do a little negotiating, and they're like, "All right, Miss Frankie, you're going to let us keep your $100,000, and what we're going to do for you, we're just going to give you at the end of every year." Well, at the end of every year, what they would really say is, we're going to give you 2% of your account. Okay, whatever you have in our bank. So maybe she has more money. I don't know. But whatever you have in our bank, at the end of the year, we're going to give you money, and that the amount of money we give you is a percentage of what you have in our bank, 2%. Well, 2% just happens to be $2,000 on it. So they're just giving her money. When I used to call them, that's not much money. Well, so if I walked up to you and said, "Here's $2,000," you'd be like, "Ah, I don't want that." Yeah, nobody in this room would say that. So don't act like it ain't anything you wouldn't take. You take $5 off of $5. So let's be real. So $2,000. They're just going to give you for putting in. Well, now 100,000 is a lot to put in too. So they're just going to give her $2,000. How in the heck can they just do that?
I don't know.
How does that work? Does that make any sense? If you're just giving away free money, giving away money.
Wait, is it giving more money to
That's still her money. They didn't take that from her. That's still her. They're just keeping it in their bank, and it's not really like physically there. It's like all digital. How do they do that? That makes no sense. It just doesn't make sense. Mr. Gill likes stuff that makes sense, but that just doesn't make sense. They're just giving her money for nothing.
Oh,
Just
calm
putting
down.
money
You're
in.
like the 9-year-old at like 3
They have favorites, Mr. Gill.
Wait.
They just do it because they like her? That's what
Because
you
we
think?
all know what happened to any of us.
Raise your hand. I'm not going to do that. Never mind.
No, wait, no, what?
I don't want it. It could go badly.
No, say it.
I did
Do
something in
it,
first
do
grade
it.
yesterday that went badly, and
Do it.
I had to
Just
stop
do it.
real
Just do it. Just do it. Do
No,
it.
I'm joking.
Please,
I already
do
made that
it.
mistake yesterday.
You already
I told
brought it
you
up. Say
badly.
it.
No.
I hate when people
No.
do that.
No, I'm not. So, anyway. So, okay, we'll kind of change topic. Raise your hand if you hope to buy a house one day.
A big house education.
That's the first thing I'm gonna buy. No apartment, no condo.
Let me ask you this, though. What are the odds that you have $300,000? When you're ready to, like, you want to buy the house, probably.
Because your credit score.
But the credit has nothing to do with having $300,000. I said, what are the odds that you have $300,000? When you're like, but by the time you had that, you might be 50 or 60 years old.
I want to live
wait
on
and
a
buy
private
house
island in my own house.
Yes, sir.
It really depends on.
You better get a good job then.
So Ray, well, maybe you got a decent job, but still,
What if you work at
you got a lot of
McDonald's?
stuff you gotta buy before you worry about having $300,000. Trust me, $300,000 doesn't happen overnight.
I don't think 300,000 is a lot of money.
So,
What? You're gonna have to have a
No.
stable
well,
$300,000
way of getting
having now, getting paid 300,000 is not nearly the same thing as having. When you get paid
Imagine
300, you only wind up getting about 50% of that, because they take taxes out.
I wonder what the guy who owns Amazon's account looks like.
No, they have taxes.
I wonder what he spends all his money on.
Me
Like,
too.
Income taxes.
I would go out to eat every night.
Bro, I would be so bored.
No, it could be a healthy place though.
I would be so bored.
All right, so refocus, everybody.
Might as well get plastic surgery.
Everybody come back in. You're not gonna have $300,000.
I want my own private.
Nobody in this room, most people in this school, most people working at this school didn't have $300,000 just laying around when they wanted to buy a house. They borrowed.
Oh,
Oh,
You
I
have to
said
get
that.
a loan.
I said that. I know you're lying. You said I did.
Why didn't we ever ask a question yet about a loan?
No,
We
okay,
haven't
just
even-
keep
I
going.
just said who's gonna have a $300,000.
All right.
You're not gonna have 300.
A loan. You ask your bank for.
You're gonna go to your bank.
Yeah.
And the bank's gonna go, hey, Aaron, Mr. Aaron's gonna go in and get a loan. They're gonna go, Mr. Aaron's
You
gonna
gotta
walk
pay it
in,
back to them though.
and he, well, duh, they're not gonna give it to you. So Mr. Aaron's gonna walk in and he's gonna go, hey, Mr. Banker, I wanna borrow $100,000. And you know what they're gonna say to Aaron? They're gonna say, have a seat. So Mr. Aaron's gonna have a seat. Oh,
Wait, but if
can
you
you hear me?
don't have-
I don't really have a whole lot on the screen yet.
Mr. Gill, what would happen if you know
I guess the bell worked.
How do you pay that money back if you're not having?
Oh, we're gonna get there. Don't you worry, Frankie, we're gonna get there. All right, there you go. That's the bell work. If you don't turn it in, that's fine.
And then one of my friends' kids.
All right,
They want a party. Oh, they-
I know.
Sorry.
So this was Miss Frankie, by the way. That was Miss Frankie, walked in. She said, I'm gonna let you keep my
Miss
money.
Smith,
And they're going to say, okay, Miss Frankie, we're gonna give you $2,000, or 2% really is what they would say. Mr. Aaron walks in, Mr. Aaron says, I need to borrow $100,000. They're gonna say, Mr. Aaron, have a seat.
I'm about to say that. Bro, what if they give her money?
They're gonna say, Mr. Aaron, we're gonna let you borrow $100,000.
Where's the money coming from?
Right.
So what if the bank don't even have 100,000?
All over, they don't take any one person's money. So they're gonna say, we're gonna let you borrow that $100,000, Mr. Aaron, and all you have to do, you
Pay
just
back.
have to pay us every year
What if he's broke though and he doesn't know how to pay
$8,000
back?
at the end of the year.
If you were homeless, that'd be a good idea.
Technically, you pay it every month.
Oh wait,
Break it up.
$8,000
That's a long time.
So, you're going to pay them more money than they pay out. That's why they do it. Because they can't just lend money, even though technically it's all digital anyway, but they can't lend money to somebody that they don't have. And the way they make money is to let people borrow money and charge them a lot of money on top of that. But if they don't have it in the first place, then they can't lend it. So that's why banks have historically, at some points, paid quite a bit of money just for keeping your money there. Now, when people aren't really borrowing money, then they've got plenty of money just sitting around, so they're not going to pay you very much money when you come in with your money, because they're like, we got plenty of money already. Nobody's really borrowing. We got a bunch of money. Like, we've got a bunch of account holders already with their money in here, and we're not really lending a bunch out, so we'll give you a little tiny bit for your money. So depending on how the economy is and a whole bunch of other stuff, you might get 2%, you might get 1%. I don't know if it's ever gone super. You might get like 0.2%. So the rates change depending on what's going on in the economy and all kind of other things, but this is the general concept. You are paying them more money to borrow than you get when you put money in their bank.
Wait a minute. Wait, can you say that?
If you borrow money, the amount they charge is this. So like if Aaron walks in and borrows money, he's got to pay them $8,000 every year for borrowing that money.
It's not bad.
In addition to paying back the 100, this is on top of paying back the 100. So this is over and above him just paying this back.
Wait, so that's
So he's paying this
that's
back.
not him paying it off. That's
No, that's additional money.
Bro, what?
Oh, wait.
What?
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
I'm-
additional money.
Wait,
Yeah.
So you're saying that's even more, that's why you said we
Absolutely.
pay more money?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not
yeah.
doing that, no.
Well, you don't have a choice. If you want to buy something for more money, you don't have a choice.
That's why you need to be successful in life.
What?
Well, and we're gonna get to that too.
Cause I'm gonna have a Tesla buyer.
Well, again, last time, then we got this in.
Y'all really wanna go to college?
Wait, so you
Even with the Matrix, I'm going to college.
This class, I'm really gonna get to the borderline where I'm gonna have to start cracking it. I appreciate the engagement, but when I start talking, I should not have to correct. And I do every single time I start. There's never a time when I start talking and you stop. Never. That's how that list started for 50. Don't want to be on that list. Because I told you how that list is used, right?
I forgot. Wait, you pick out
To
random
the
people.
parent.
No, please. I thought you said you took out random
So,
people.
and just the fact that I'm calling pregnant in the middle of the day, they're pretty sure it's not going to be great.
I don't know how that works.
I mean,
You probably above all need to know how it is, but we'll have that conversation tomorrow. So, he borrows $100,000. He's got to pay that back also. He's paying this back at the same time. In addition to paying them this back, he's got to pay them extra money
Because they
just
still have
because
to-
they allow
they have
him
to
to
pay for
borrow their
having
money.
their money in the bank, so that means they still have to pay that $8,000.
Well, just simply because you have no other options. Most people do not have $100,000 laying around.
Yeah.
Certainly not 300,000. So you don't have another option other than going to somebody that does have that much money. Either that or you never get to buy a house. I mean,
Or your credit
and
score.
a lot of people never do.
Your credit score can make it better.
Your credit score doesn't give you
I know,
money.
but it can make you get, if you want a bigger house, your credit score can help you with it.
No, absolutely not.
Sometimes it could though.
No.
No, if it's good and your money could be up, right?
Nope, that's not what credit score does.
So what does it do?
Credit score,
It tells
because
you
here's the main thing it does. They may not even give you $100,000. You aren't guaranteed to get any money from a bank. You may walk in and they may look at your credit score and they may be like, yeah, why don't you go down the street to that bank?
Yeah, that's what I
And
meant.
then
That's what I
they'll
meant.
give
That's
you
what I
money.
meant. That's
So
what I meant.
it doesn't help you get a bigger house. I mean, I guess it could help you get more money
That's what
theoretically.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Okay.
If that's what you're saying, then yes.
Yes, that's what I meant.
But I mean, the fact that you have great credit still doesn't guarantee you get any money. Because there are a lot of times, like I said, if the banks have a bunch of people borrowing, so the opposite of what I said earlier, if a bunch of people are borrowing, they can pick and choose who they want to give the money to, and they're going to give it to the safest risk people. Like if you come in and you want to borrow $100,000 and you make a bunch of money and you've never missed a payment on anything, and they're like, yeah,
So you're
sure, we'll let
responsible.
you borrow money. Then I walk in and I'm like, yeah, I want to borrow $100,000. Like, you're a teacher. You don't make money.
Would they really sell it to you?
Well, they don't say it like that, but yeah, they think it. They're like, they look at how much your credit score is just based on how much money you make and how have you paid off your debts historically. And if you paid off all your debts and if you make good money, then you have good credit. If you don't make very good money and you have missed payments on stuff, then you don't have good credit. Simple as that. So anyway, that's the general idea. That took a lot longer than it should have. Here's the actual lessons. So we're moving away from money, but kind of the same exact concept. So you've heard of viral videos. Like everybody should have heard of viral videos, I'm sure. I might
Clearwater
have said
video.
TikTok, YouTube was the original, I think, but then once social media came out with all the different apps, it came from viruses. Like the term viral for videos came from what a virus is and what happens with a virus. And this is why, like COVID-19, this is why viruses are so dangerous. Oh, come get a calculator real quick. Actually, tell you what, no, don't get one. I'm gonna. Well, actually, if somebody wants to pass them around, I'll let you
My
know.
leg broke.
I just realized what you said. So, here's why viruses are so dangerous. A virus starts as that. What is that?
0.
Digital.
Big viruses though, what would it be if I'm thinking
Oh,
A germ.
small, but it is really small, but it's germ, but there's a word, better word, 4 letters, starts with a C.
Case.
No, not code.
Or letters?
There, I was gonna say someone's
Yeah.
talking
What
about
is
biology.
it? A cell.
It starts as like a cell. And then what happens to it,
It gets bigger.
well, no, it doesn't get bigger. It splits. Like it literally, that cell splits.
And it
So that
goes,
one,
goes to New Jersey,
What's
New
the two?
York,
maybe.
to the UK, goes to
you still can't.
Texas, then it goes viral, and then it gets bigger.
And then those cells split. And then those cells split. And then those cells split, and then I think you get the point. So a virus is originally like one cell. We could have gotten to COVID when it was one cell and just whacked it. We'd be in pretty good shape right now, but we didn't. We didn't even know it was around for a super long time, and that's why a virus is so dangerous, is because while we don't know it's around, it's doing this. We haven't discovered it yet, so it's doing this. So let's say it started as a cell, then it became 2, 4, and then it kept splitting. All of those cells kept splitting. What's going on with those numbers?
They're going up.
5?
It's so.
It's
So.
It's so.
Not by itself. 2 times 2 is 4, but 4 times 4 is not 8.
Is it? 1.5. Yeah.
Two is 4.
Every single time you're multiplying by 2. What
Why
did you
2
just
though?
learn about tables that have a pattern of multiplication?
It's exponential.
That's all a virus is. It's an exponential equation.
Oh my goodness.
It's just what you were trying to get at in the first place, Mr. Gill, I swear. Oh my gosh.
That's everything. Oh, you need to write that down if you didn't write that down. Exponential growth. That's the lesson, exponential growth. So we're still doing exponents. Still kind of using the same formula, but we're going to change it a little bit for certain situations. Yeah, probably. This is the virus part is definitely based on biology. So now let's do a little fun activity. I mean, not really activity. We're just going to guess some numbers.
Should I go outside later?
So and this happens, by the way, when I say the virus splits, I don't mean it takes it a week to split. Like it happens in days, a day, maybe in hours. For the sake of our activity, I guess, or lesson, I don't know. We're gonna say it takes it either a day or an hour. I don't know. Let's say it takes it a day. It takes it a whole day even to replicate. So as it splits every day, obviously our numbers are getting up. And we're already, so that would be the starting point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So after 7 days, so this is our x value and our y value if we're making this a table. So after 7, our initial value, which is called what?
Exponential? Wait, what?
Was that value right there because of that?
When
X is 0.
Oh, you keep, wait.
When x is 0, when
Say-
y is
Why is the... Why did you say
What did you say? Yeah, I think somebody said that.
It's A.
My little Jasmine
Hey, it is A. It is the A. So that would be the A value. That was the next thing I was going to ask. So that, well, it's not always 1, but when x is 0, what is that y value called? It's the A, but what is the A in the equation? It is. It's the y-intercept. The y-intercept. So the A, so that is our y-intercept. So that's our y-intercept right there, if we were to graph it. That's just kind of a review thing. So here's my question to you. We're going to take some guesses. See who's big brain. So, I want to know after 24 days, and I've really picked 24 only because we were doing hours before, there were 24 hours on day, but we'll still use 24. After 24 days, so what's that? After 24 days, what do you think our number of virus cells is going to be?
Oh.
So we're at 128 after 7 days. So throw a guess. I'm going to take like 4 or 5 guesses. So take a guess. Give me a number. I don't want to end this on.
Wait, can you say that again?
After 24 days, what's your guess of how many cells?
1
What?
million.
1,792.
No, she looked it up.
That's too precise.
Oh, I might be
Yeah.
wrong.
I just want to take some guesses. If you try to figure it out, that's fine.
568.
It's going to take you a long time to do, I'll tell you that. If you try, even if you try to-
2,500.
It's not right.
2,572? 2,572. Give me a couple more.
I'm trying to figure it out.
3,072?
Yeah. 450.
Those are so specific.
I don't know. 4,072.12 dash 73.
4,000 what?
I don't know. I forgot what I said. 1911027.
Man, I sort of heard that. I don't think, it was from 2 different people, that's what I put together.
So one.
You have a guess or what?
025.
What'd you say?
5,500.
5,500.
452.
Do you have a guess since you tried to do it on a calculator?
It's a really big number.
So I'm just
4,032.
I got
I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you what it
A
is.
million.
A trillion.
It's higher than that.
A billion.
Zillion.
16 million. I think 677,000.
If you make that much money in 24 days.
16 million after only 24 days. That's why viruses are a big deal.
Oh.
It does not take them long to replicate. Did you really get that? Does it? I didn't even think those calculators would show that many digits. I didn't even know if you had that many digits on that. So viruses replicate super fast because every cell is replicating. It winds up being a super high number.
That's how people die. Because when they have cancer, it just keeps going.
So that's again. But here's how that concept is. And again, all it was an exponential equation, by the way. If you're figuring out what's our initial value, like if we're going to do this equation, what's our initial value? What's our A value?
Wait, what did it say?
It's the one that's
Initial value.
Yeah, the A. The A is the initial
Like
value,
one?
or the y-intercept.
Yeah.
It was 1. Yeah, we already talked about it. I even literally, I just had it written up, and all I did was erase it. People are like, what? What are you talking about?
16 million.
So that's the A. What's the B?
2.
Yeah, that's the pattern, right? Or the what's the word? What's the math word? The B is the
No. Pattern.
no, that's not the math word. Constant ratio, and we're raising it to the 24th power.
Oh my god.
So that's why it gets so big so fast. Is we're saying 2 times 2 times 2, and so each time it doubles, eventually you're like doubling 10,000, and then you double 20, and then you double 40, and then so those last few numbers, like the last 4 times, we'll say you double. You're doubling some big numbers. Now here's how that applies to you, and why this is so important. And I say real life stuff. I mean, this does apply to you because COVID's going on right now. When you save money, interest works the same way. Interest is based on multiplying that number over and over and over again. What do you think the X stands? So in this equation, the X stood for how many days? What do you think the X stands for when we're talking about saving money?
Make transactions.
How much time do you? What'd you say? How much time do you?
It's still time.
Yeah.
X is still time. It's just normally going to be the number of years.
That's too long.
Yes. So here's the 2 things that matter about saving money. I would argue it's the biggest one. Some people may argue differently. I guess it depends on what the numbers are, but it's the biggest one to me is the amount of time you save. Don't wait until, I don't care if you're saving $10. Don't wait until you're like 40, which a lot of people do, before you finally say, I got to really start, putting some money away.
That's my mom.
You need to start saving early, and you need to find somewhere, and you're not going to get a lot of interest to start out with. It's just banks just aren't paying much interest right now. But the point is to just start doing it. Because the more years you have doing that, And this is the same thing, the first or the second question on Bellworth had to do with stocks. Stocks are the same idea. With a stock, you're not getting a guaranteed interest rate. Like they're not saying, okay, we're gonna pay you this amount, this percentage every year. But over time, you do wind up getting like a rate of interest. Like they can calculate it out using computers and stuff what the average rate is when they get back. So they can calculate it out and say, yeah, over the last 10 years, the stock market's gone up 8% or something like that. So there is a rate of return. It's just not guaranteed. Like your money might go down some and then back up and then down and up. And over time, though, it has always gone up over like a long period of time. So that's why I was telling you, I don't know if I did in this part actually. Invest money in stocks now. Ask for a stock for your birthday, for Christmas. Like have them buy a little. They may have to open up an account, but I think there's tons of free account options, so it won't cost them any money to open up an account. I don't even get charged money to buy. Like if I have to pay what the stock costs, but they used to charge you money just like a transaction fee.
So it's for
That's
like
how they
what's
make
his
money.
name?
Huh? Well, now they don't even charge that. I don't even get a transaction fee. I literally just pay whatever it is for the stock. Yeah, the way they make their money now is because it's all tied together. The way they make their money now is on it's called they manage the fund that they're selling, and there's like a fee built into the fund itself that you buy, the stock, the fund, or whatever you want to call it. So they have other ways of making money now with all the online stuff. So if you do an online purchase, I should say, you don't get charged money. I think if you do a purchase, like you have to call in and do it, I think they might charge for that. But yeah, buy like, I mean, there's tons of inexpensive stocks, but you need to be careful, like, because you could lose all your money. I mean, that's a possibility. But buy something that you feel pretty comfortable with. Will be around. Yeah, if the company goes out of business. Because when you buy a stock, you're buying part of a company. Remember, we talked about that, I think. If you buy part of a company and that company goes out of business, then yeah, there's no money left. They're gone. So you need to buy a company that you feel like is pretty stable. And I don't even know if you have to buy a full share. You might be able to buy partial shares. I don't know about that. But anyway, start putting some money into something now. Well, mutual funds I know are partial stocks. That's what when I was younger, that was the first thing I bought.
How do you find places to
Just do some research, like, type in, how does a teenager buy stocks? Type that in, I guarantee there's all kinds of stuff that'll pop up.
Or just go on TikTok.
Yeah, you can probably ask questions and all kind of people are answering. All right, so that was exponential growth. You're after Jasmine, and somebody's out right now already. I want to do, so that was called exponential growth. Again, it also applies to investing money, saving money. We're going to come back and do an example in that minute. There's another thing called exponential decay, so write that one down. It's on your sheet. You have this on your sheet, exponential decay, exponential growth.
What? Oh.
So you can just take notes right on that sheet if you want. It's up to you. So exponential decay is still an exponential function. Like we're still using that same formula. It's still based on f of x equals some number times a pattern raised to the x. So here's the difference, two differences between exponential growth and then exponential decay. So have you ever heard, like, don't buy a new car, buy a used car?
Yeah.
Why?
You were young.
Because it's less money.
So it's older. I hope it's cheaper.
You can make it better.
Should be cheaper.
You can make it.
An older
You
car.
can make a
Like,
used
if
car
I buy
better.
something new, wouldn't it be more expensive than something old?
Yeah.
But won't it last longer?
You don't know that though.
Sometimes
Yeah,
a new car
you
can
know,
trick you.
Anything new will
So like
last
you don't know
longer.
if it has
That old car came on them Chevys.
Well, that's with an old car, though.
Oh,
Not with a new car. I mean, you're more likely to get that with an old
Your
car.
insurance in the cost more than a new car.
You're like, what did I? Yep, that was Jasmine, then somebody,
Is
then
this especially if you got a
Ryan,
new
then
sports
somewhere,
car?
and somebody got
I thought it was sports car, bro.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
There's this word called depreciation. And I don't know that you'll really see this anywhere during it, but you'll, in real life, you'll see it. Like, it'll come up in real life more than it will in actually your math tests and stuff. Depreciation says the value of something goes down as it gets older. And the reason is pretty simple. Like, if I buy a car, brand new car, right? 5 years later, I have that car, but they still make that same car. But, so I could go buy a brand new one, or I could buy somebody's old one. Well, am I going to pay the same amount for both of those? No, of course not. This doesn't have the same value anymore. It's old. It might have some stuff wrong with it. It's guaranteed it's going to have more wrong with it than the new one. I mean, on average. I mean, you could get what's called a limit, and you could have one scenario where there's a new car that has something wrong with it. But in general, you know, as stuff gets used, it gets worn down. Belts break, belts get worn down, parts decay. Like, so what happens is the value goes down. So that's what this is showing. Initially, maybe the car was worth $10,000. A year later, it's worth $8,500. 2 years later, it's down to 7,000s and 6,000s and 5,000. That's decay. So here's your difference between growth and decay. I mean, this one's pretty simple. The value, your initial value, right? We talked about initial value. With growth, the initial value increases. So whatever your starting number was, you're increasing the amount as time goes by. So like saving money. If you're getting interest, you're adding that in, and your money you have is going up. That would be growth. Or viruses. We had one to start, and then the number of them got bigger. That's growth. Exponential growth. With decay, the initial starting number, the y-intercept, the initial value, goes down from there. Your values are going down, like 10,000, 8,500, 7,000, 6,000, 5,000. The values are now going down. Here's why, though. So on your sheet, oh wait, I have this actually. So on your sheet, here's where I kind of want you to write some notes in, or how I want you to write notes in. All right, so we have this, right? You see the top line where it says f of x, a, b. That's the same equation all the way across. No difference at all. Same exact equation. I'll give you the pieces to write in a minute. So exponential growth means our b value. So that's our like pattern value. Then what are we multiplying by, right? That's what the b is. The b value is greater than 1. Because that's the only way for the value to go up, is if you multiply by a number greater than 1. Because if I just multiply by 1, it doesn't change at all. Anything times 1 is the same number. If I multiply by less than 1, my value actually goes down, so that's what you write under decay. So for decay, you write your b value as less than 1. And we're going to do that. So you have a starting number of 100. I want you to multiply that by some decimal number. It'll have a decimal in it. 1 point and then something. You can pick whatever you want after that. It could be 1.01. So 100 times 1.0 something.
6.
There you go. Well, it doesn't even have to be 0.0 something. You could just say 1 point something. It doesn't have to have a 0. It could be 1.1, 1.2.
100.
1.100 would just be 1.1.
No, I mean like 100.
7.
So it doesn't make
10.3.
You multiply by 1.7.
No, 7.
10.3.
You should have gotten a number bigger than the 100 you started with.
How?
Because you're supposed to multiply that number times 100.
Oh, it's 5.
2.5.
No. Because remember, pattern exponential is always based on multiplication. So you multiply by a number greater than 1, it's going to make your initial number get bigger. Now do by a number less than 1. So point, and then you can do 0.9 something, 0.8 something, 0.7 something, whatever. Just got to be less than 1. Take your same $100 starting, 100, that would be $1, times point something.
Increases 60.
30.
Not if you did something less than 1.
0.5.
100 times point what?
1.3.
If you didn't hit the point.
0.5.
That should have been 30.
Yeah. It decreased.
Oh, I thought you said increase. Yeah, no, it's supposed to decrease. If you multiply by a number less than 1, it decreases your starting number. So again, that's what this B is greater than 1 over here, and B is less than 1. Our B is our pattern number. So if we're multiplying by 1 point something, something greater than 1, it's going to increase our starting number. If we're multiplying by a number less than 1, it's going to decrease our starting number. We'll come back and, oh, here's the other thing. So you might get a question on a quiz, like I really like this question a lot. I consider it a very easy question. And there's no math involved, like no calculations at all. You might get a graph like these. And I might ask you, which one of those graphs represents decay?
It's obviously the one that's like
Middle one, because in that
The
section.
values need to be going down as the x value gets bigger.
Yeah.
This is decay. I mean, it says decay up there, so you should have known anyway. This is decay because my y values, my y numbers, just like the car numbers, were going down as the x numbers got bigger. Here, though, like let's say we were saving, and I started with $4. And then as time goes by, my $4 is increasing in value. So that would represent growth. All right, we'll come back to this again for this last part. So let's go back to money. I think we're still on money.
I'm losing brain cells.
So is the rest of society, unfortunately. All right, so here's what I want you to do. We're
You
gonna.
actually lose brain cells?
Yeah.
Absolutely. They say drinking alcohol kills brain cells.
What?
If you inhale gasoline,
Yeah, a lot of things kill. Well, actually, as you get older, you.
What if
Your
there's all
brain
there's so many
cells
brain cells? Oh.
All right, so here's the thing that you're going to do on your own. This is going to be your activity at the end. That's your grade. So this one's going to be for a grade later.
I don't like it.
Although it's not going to be the same problem. But so you want to buy a car,
Uh-huh.
right? Eventually, again, I told you a lot of this stuff will be stuff I hope all of you are doing at some point. Saving money, investing. This one's buying the car. As we just talked about, most of the time, not always with cars, but most of the time people have to borrow money to buy a car. They can't just walk in and say, here's my $15,000 that I just have lying around, I'm going to buy a car.
I wish I was that rich.
A lot of people, with cars, a lot of people do pay in cash for cars. Because, it's the difference between buying a $150,000 house and a $15,000 car. So, the formula is this, same formula. What's our initial value going to be? It's going to be how much we borrow.
$15,000.
So it's how much we borrow is our initial value.
Initial.
Your car is going to cost a lot more than what you think it's going to cost. That's the point of this.
Is
Because
that why you
you're
asked
borrowing
used?
money.
Is that why you asked the use question?
Yeah, not really. Not really. It's just a different amount of money is all. So you're borrowing this money, but then you have to pay them interest. Not like you pay the bank. Well, it is the bank that you borrow from. Bank or some kind of person that lends money. So let's say you pay it back after just 1 year. So just 1 year is all. What's your formula going to be? Any idea? You wouldn't know it yet.
Oh wait, that's the AB. The AB one.
So that's the formula. But what,
No, you're not
like
gonna
with
put-
numbers,
You're
what are we
not
going to
gonna
put in?
The X is going to be 1.
You're not adding.
So the x is going to be 1. So x is going to be 1.
And 15,000.
You gotta put
What
the
is the a we just said?
You gotta put
A?
the AB close to each other.
So 15,000 times. What's the b value?
10.
Not 10.
0.5.
Oh, you're getting closer.
10%.
Well, but what is 10%
0.1.
in a number?
0.1. 10% of a number is
Bro.
Isn't it just
Oh,
point
okay.
10?
Yeah, nobody was listening to her. I just wanted you to know I heard.
Oh.
0.1 is a decimal version of 10%. The way you do that, if you don't remember, you do need to know this. Like just in general to graduate. This is the kind of stuff that will be on the types of tests you need to know. 10 divided by 100. You take the percentage number, the 10 was the percentage we were using, and divide by 100. That's how you convert a percentage to a decimal. To go from a decimal to a percentage, you multiply by 100. So if I say, I mean, you can do it on your calculator. Say 10 divided by 100, and you'll get 0.1. No, 10 divided by 100. Not 100 divided by 10. 10 divided by, because you want to get a decimal.
You flip that around. You
So
said,
15 divided
you just flip that around.
I said 10 divided by 100. That's what you're doing. 10 divided by 100. No.
I think you divide 100 by 10.
Do 10 divided by 100. If you don't just talk about it, do it. 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. You guys always flip that around for some reason. Not just yet. You need to see this next part. So here's the one thing we have to do. So I need everybody's attention. Anaya, wake up. Fernando, wake up. Martin. I know we can't wake you up. Yeah, we tried that one day and you, wow. I thought I was worried for a second. So I can't multiply by 0.1 here. Because I just said if I multiply by a number less than 1, my original number gets smaller. What we have to do, and this is a little tricky, but the formula is going to be on your sheet. It's actually on there now. We have to say, I'm going to add, whoops.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I heard something. I have to add that 0.1 to 1.
I guess you was getting yelled at. You was getting yelled at?
Oh, Christian.
Damn,
Christian!
I forgot that.
So, that's what we're doing.
someone's violating our rule.
That was a long trip, by the way. So I got 4 people that have been waiting to get that.
I'm next.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what you need to do. Take this formula, write it down. Oh, you need to copy all of those so you know where the numbers came from. 15,000 times, and then in parentheses have 1 plus 0.1, and then raised to the first power. I'll clean it up a little bit. I just wanted to leave that up there for a second. So if you know what you're doing, do it. If not, I'm going to clean it up a little bit and show you the formula. You do need the table though, so you know where these numbers came from. No, I'm gonna write it and then I'll get out of the way. So again,
Sometimes my specialty was math.
all right, there you go. So the 15,000 is the now you should have already written down the main formula, the f of x equals a times b raised to the x thing, so I'm not writing that again. But those are the actual numbers from the table. I want you to write down what these mean so you can use that as an example later on a quiz. Now you should be able to pick out it, numbers and say, okay, well this is the original cost of the car, because it's pretty guaranteed you're going to have a car example or something where you borrow money and I'm asking you how much do you actually have to pay back by the end of the loan or whatever. How much does that car actually cost you? If you borrow $15,000, you pay it back after a year.
Can you make the movie like this?
Well, all you do is do the math. All right. I can I can still fit, I think, all of that on there. Yeah, 150. Yeah, we can go up for sure 1.
Oh, that's weird.
Well, I'm worried I'm not going to be able to fit the top part on. So hopefully you've written the top part already. If not, I'll have to go back up to it. But there's the table. Just remember that right now there's a 1. There's a 1 also up here. if you didn't write that down. Because we're doing, the years of payments was 1 year. The X stands for how many years are we pay, how many years is it taking us to pay it off?
Wait, am I looking for the number of how much it?
Well, I did that because you need to copy down the table also, so you know where these numbers came from. Like, you need to know that number was the original price of the car. Really, this is really how much you borrowed. It's not so much that it's the price of the car, it's that that's how much you borrowed from the bank. They're going to be the same number, like, because you're going to, whatever the price, well, actually for a house they won't, because you'll put a down payment. Well, even for a car. That's why you put a down payment down, so you don't have to borrow as much money. You pay some of it immediately, so that you don't have to borrow so much money. Because you're going to see that borrowing money costs you a lot of money in the end. Did you get an answer? Do you have an answer? You're supposed to have an answer. You're supposed to be doing this equation. Do the math.
16,000.
There we go.
Really was one.
So that is the answer. If you borrow money and it takes you just a year to pay it back, which isn't a long time, it still costs you $16,500, not $15,000. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want to know. Well, we'll do one more. Let's say you paid it back after 2 years instead of 1 year. So now, and normally they don't even offer 1 or 2 years, just to let you know. I'm going to pay the loan off over 2 years, not just 1 year. So it's the same formula pretty much, except what change do I need to make? I need to change the X, because that's my time, and my time is no longer 1 year, now 2 years. So here's what you have to do. You have to do this part first, say 1 plus 0.1. Then you have to say, and do this in steps. Don't try to do it all at once, because I'm telling you, you will mess up on those blue calculators. Then say 1.1 times 1.1, because that's what this means. That just means all of this stuff times itself. Then get whatever that number is. Then multiply that times 15,000.
18. Wait, what? 181.
What?
Wait,
18,100.
Yeah, I was going to say 18 sounds about right.
Yeah.
So after 2 years, how much did we pay if we pay it off in 2 years?
18,000.
150.
So if you pay it off over 2 years, that car, instead of being $15,000, just cost you $18,000.
Whoa.
You just paid $3,000 more. That's only 2 years. So here's the years that banks normally offer loans for cars. 3, 5, and 7. Sometimes 10. You don't want to do a 10.
They're generous.
So, well, no, here's why. I want you to say, okay, what if it took me 7 years to pay this off?
You're lazy.
So you're going to change that to a 7, which means you're not changing your rate. It's still the same exact rate. You're still going to have the same exact rate. So it's not even like you're getting a higher rate. You're getting the same rate. You need to take that 1.1 now and multiply it times itself 7 times. And then multiply that times 15,000. And see how much that car would actually cost you. And that's what most people choose, is 7 years. Because they think they want to take a lot of time to pay it off.
Oh my
Because
god.
it'll make
That's a
their
lot.
payments smaller. What'd you get?
That is a lot. 139,000.
Yeah. 29,000.
What'd you get? Because that's the right number, I believe. What'd you get?
$29,000.
30.
So if you take 7 years to pay off that car, which is what most people choose, why do they choose that?
That's a
Well,
lot of
I
money.
mean, that
That's
may
a
be
lot of
part of
money.
it. Some people that have money, though, will still
gives
choose
them more
7 years
time.
because they don't
Yeah.
understand how this works. It gives them more time, and they think that's a good thing. Oh, I got more time to pay it off. That's a great thing.
What is it?
But it also makes each individual payment smaller. So a lot of people will go into the bank and they'll say, or the car dealership really, they'll say, well, yeah, I want to buy a car. I don't care how much it costs. I just want to make sure my monthly payments are as small as I can get them.
Wait, what?
Because they
I didn't
think
put that.
paying off or paying more each month is a bad thing. It's not. Not if you pay it off earlier. So after 7 years, I forget what the rest of it was, 29,000 what? Anybody still have it up?
29230.
That's close enough. So after 7 years, and again, that's the most common choice, I would bet, that $15,000 actually cost you $30,000. You do not want to choose 7 years if you can help it. Do not, well, you don't want to borrow money, really. You'd rather pay off everything, like save money and just buy it in cash if you can. That's not always possible because, again, a lot of times people just don't have that kind of money just laying around, even if you save money.
What if you paid off before 7 years?
And you can. Like, even an auto, like if you say I'm going to pay it off in 7 years, you can pay more money toward what's called the principal, which is the amount you actually borrowed. And you can pay it off still faster than the 7 years. And then, yeah, you'll save a bunch of money if you do that. That's what I did with my car, my very first car. I think I got a 5-year loan, but I paid it off in like 3.5 years. The more money you can save, now it's still better to get a shorter term loan if you can, because you'll get a lower interest rate. So if you got a 3-year instead of a 7-year, this number might be 9 instead of 10. So it would lower. Well, no, that's good. It's a lower interest rate because remember you're paying them this 10%.
This is too much to take in.
Well, again, here's the moral of the
What
story.
happens if you don't pay it off?
Oh, did I not go to that yet?
No,
Go to
How?
jail.
Would you go to jail?
No, not jail.
It's in your car.
This credit
Yeah,
card,
you
you
take
can't buy
fine.
anything like cars.
When you borrow money, the ownership of the item, the house, the car, whatever it is, if you're borrowing money, whoever you borrow the money from owns that item. You're paying them back, and then when you're done paying them, they'll give you that item, or they'll give you the title, is what it's called. If you stop paying them,
They can sue you.
then they're gonna what's called repossess that vehicle or that. For a house, you don't really repossess it. You go in default on your mortgage, and I guess they do.
I don't want a house. I don't
They will
want an
physically
apartment,
come
I'm
take the
gonna
car
buy
from you.
And then
For a house, they
I'm
just kick you
gonna
out.
buy, you price
They
on
give
it,
you like a
build
notice,
house
like
on
a
it,
7-day
get-
notice?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more than 7 days. Like normally it's more like 7 months. Because they want you to pay the money back. Like they don't want to have to go through that whole process because they were planning on making their money by you paying them back. So they'd rather have you paying them back and not going through the hassle of trying to get the house or the car back. So they're gonna try to work with you, but eventually they're gonna be like, okay, we gotta just take our car back or our house back. So hopefully that's something that you remember when you go to try to borrow money. First of all, if you don't need to borrow it, don't borrow. Like save money first. That's your first option. If you have to borrow it, make sure you can pay it back.
Might as well
If
wait.
you don't pay it back, you lose the item and you already paid a bunch of money in. Like if you
You
pay
just wasted money.
if you pay 5 years worth of payments, you never miss a payment, then all of a sudden you lose your job. And now you can't pay. Well, that's too bad. They're still gonna take it back, even though you pay, you don't get part of the car. Like they're gonna take the whole car. It's
Oh, you
gone.
can't just cut it in half.
Yeah, cut the car after, yeah, smart.
It's a front wheel drive, just cut the back end.
Yeah, just call this, you just keep a driver's seat, so you
Yup.
So stocks, stocks work. I'll try a third time. Stocks work kind of the same way. Again, there's not a guaranteed interest rate, but you're getting money. Oh, so this concept is the same as if you save money. Like if you put in $15,000 in the bank and you got 10% over the time, well, the longer you leave it in there, then the more money you're gonna have. If you only leave it in for a couple of years, you would have only had this much. If you leave it in for the 7 years, you would have had $30,000 after 7 years.
In
That's
7 years.
twice. That's double what you had in only. And again, you didn't do anything. Like you just gave them the money and it just sat
You
there.
didn't do it?
That's why you want to put money. Now you're not going to get 10%. I'll tell you that right now. Now in stocks, you might. You might
You
put
do
money.
both?
I actually invested when COVID hit. I put in a bunch of money. Well, a bunch for me. I put in a bunch of money into the stock market because it dropped way down. And I'm like, it's gonna come back up. Like, nothing really happened. I mean, there was a virus, and yeah, that's scary, but everything was great before that. So I put a bunch of money in. My stocks have gone up twice what they were in 1 year.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I'm pretty happy about it. So I will tell you, if you ever, again, you got to have the money in the first place. Doesn't always have to be a lot of money. One of my stocks only cost 44 cents per share. I should have bought, and that's the one that went up the
Oh,
most.
wait,
It
per
went up.
share?
It is 10 times higher, not just double. It's 10 times
What
higher.
per share?
What does the per share mean?
Like that's just how many, what's your ownership of it? Like I could have, if I would put all my money into that, I would have had 10 times as much, not twice as much,
So if you
10
would've put
times as
like
much.
$20, you would've got $200.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't really be able to invest 20. I guess maybe you could invest 20. But let's say you put 1,000 in, and you would have had $10,000 just in that one stock. Unfortunately, I didn't put as much in that stock as I did in the other one. I wish I would. I was gonna put all of it into that one stock, but my buddy scares me out of it. I hate him. Well, it was risky because when a stock is at low, it means maybe it's in trouble, maybe it's gonna go out of business.
Okay, well, that was a safe.
Well, but here it's an oil stock. And I didn't feel like oil companies are as. There are a lot of reasons why oil is like regulated and all this kind of stuff. So here's what you are doing now. So we need to use that last formula. So I'm just going to tell you how you use the last formula, and you need to fill in all these values. Oh wait, actually you can. Yeah, see, this is why I can't let you guys go to the bathroom. It takes you too long, and then everybody else doesn't get to go. So I don't know. We're gonna have to start putting some limits on time, and if you can't get back in that time, there's got to be something that happens. Because I mean, it's been literally like 25, 30 minutes, and 2 people have gone to the bathroom. That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
It should have been like
You took the long. You took about 15 or 20 yourself,
Nah, about over 20.
and then Jasmine's gone about 10.
About over 30.
That must have been a really long poo-poo haul.
Probably wasn't even that.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. Where's my mouse?
So what is your first step?
Well, I'm pulling up the book again because it's got all the stuff you need. All right, so look at the equation at the far right now. It's under, I think it says payments. What's it say at the top? Thank you. I was about to lose it. I think, what's the far right category? Like one was growth and
Compound
decay,
interest?
and
We call
is
compound
that what it's
interest.
called, compound interest?
Yeah.
So we're about to do a problem, and I'm just going to explain as you do the problem what the variables stand for. So the formula is something like P, big capital P, right? So here's what the P stands for.
You called me a big fur.
25 minutes ago, and I wrote that down.
Oh.
No, I messed it up.
Intrail.
So P is the initial value, or the starting money. I'm also going to put that in. So that's what the P stands for. So what is the P in this example? I think you can probably see it. Can you not read that?
No, it's just.
All right.
Amount deposited, 30,000, interest 8%.
Interest 3,000.
What happens if you pay for school? You
So
pay
write
for-
these down.
Then you can't pay it
Write the
back.
certificate down.
Now I'm going to tell you what the values are. So everybody write this down. Since you can't, a lot of you can't see it, and I'm going to need the room, so I can't. Actually, I can't zoom in on this anyway. The amount deposited. Amount deposited. So this is how much you're putting in the bank. Amount deposited is $3,000. Write that down. Just do your best to spell it if you don't know how to spell deposited.
3,000.
You can buy a lot of stuff.
3,000.
Wait, you don't say you can buy the dark web for $1,000?
Not deposited.
You know you can buy everything.
That's
The annual interest rate is 8%.
I was right.
Annual interest is 8%. Oh, so that is the, and then when you look at the formula, That's the R value. I hope you're all writing this down, because that sheet will do you no good if you don't understand what the variables are
I
for.
already wrote those down.
Yeah, I didn't wrote that down this year. Alright, close it.
We
Yeah,
had
on
it
the
up
other
there
one.
in the beginning of the class, like 3 minutes. I wrote it down.
Oh, when I had the slide at the head on it. Okay, all right, that's fine. So the N is in Nancy, that variable, that stands for how many times per year is it compounded. So it's a little tricky in here. It says interest compounded quarterly. That means 4 times per year. Quarterly is 4 times per year. You're either normally going to get 4 or 1. That's like really the only values. And you don't even really get the quarterly. Normally it's just 1. Everything we do on the module study right now, I'm always just going to use 1. So you won't even ever have to worry about it. So that's the N. So N. So that's how many times per year is it compounded? So N is how many times per year is it compounded? What's the last variable? What's that going to stand for?
How many years?
How many years? So T is always going to be this pretty much same thing. All right, so we're going to do this one, and then you're going to do one more, and then you're going to have your assignment. Yeah, you have something to turn in today for a grade. The last thing we do, which is basically you're just going to do this again with your own numbers. You're going to come up with how much you're going to save. All right, so all you do is you take that formula. I got to get rid of some of this, so hopefully you have T is how many years.
Y'all
right
not
now.
go to sleep.
T is how many?
T is how many years?
Me too.
It's like a auto to go to sleep.
I just want that to
If you go to
see.
sleep, some shit.
It's okay, we won't tell on you.
That's my initial deposit, my P. How much money am I putting in to the bank? Times. Well, I would appreciate you just keeping that to yourself right now, because I'm not losing them. Because you're non-stop talking all the time. Then we take that 1 again because we need to create a number bigger than 1 because we're increasing the value of something. So we say 1 plus, here's the only real tricky part. And it's not even that tricky, you just plug the numbers in. The rate is 8%, but what do we say we have to do to an 8% number when it's a percentage?
8 over 100.
Divide it by 100 to get a decimal. So I'm just going to tell you what the decimal is. You want to do it on your calculator. 0.08. Then you have to divide that by how many times per year. How many times per year is it? Compounded. Yeah, that's what the quarterly meant. Interest compounded quarterly means 4 times a year. Quarters, 4 quarters in a dollar. So 4 times per year. So 4 goes down there. We then have to also multiply that 4 times the number of years. And the number of years was 5.
Oh.
4 and 5.
4 times 5, because if you look up in the upper right corner where the exponents are, it says n times t. So now again, I'm always just going to use 1 for n, so we're really not ever going to use it again. But I wanted to at least show you what it was, because you'll see it next year. So now let's do the math. What do you get in that parentheses? Do it on your calculator. I want to make sure you can get the right numbers. Did you get it? Yeah, one this one. You actually have the other function that we need we don't have on this group. Who has an answer? It is 1.02. That's it.
Hey, Nicole. Big
So 1.02 is what you should have gotten in those parentheses. If you did not get that, and don't be shy, because you're the one that's going to have to do this, raise your hand, and we can help you get to it. All right, what did you do first?
I don't know how to do it.
All right. We need to do this part first. We don't say 1 plus something first. That'll come later, because remember, we do multiplication and division before we do addition and subtraction. So in your calculators, type 0.08, and then just say divided by 4. This line means division. So 0.08 divided by 4. You should get 0.02.
Oh, because I was doing it.
Now you come back and you say plus the 1. And so you should get 1.02. So here's the actual formula, the next step, which I'm not going to make you do this step. Not on this one, you will on the next one. It's 3,000 times 1.02, but then we got to raise this 1.02 to the 20th power. Now, because we have crappy calculators, what that would really mean you would need to do, you would need to say 1.02 times 1.02 times 1.02, and you need to do that 20 times.
Wait, I'm gonna lose 20.
Because we had n times t in the formula, remember? Yeah, I can't forget about that. That's the most important part. The time frame is the most important part. Can't forget about that. So luckily on my phone, I have the function we need, so I'm just going to do it for
Can't do
you.
it once.
So we have 1. What did you get?
20.4.
Ooh, I think it's higher than that. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't be higher than that. It's going to be less than 2, I believe. So 1.02 raised to the, what was it, 20th? So write this number down. This is what this number right here equals what I'm about to tell you. 1, and I'm rounding it off a little bit. It goes on forever. 1.486.
It's not greater than
Oh, man.
Well, if you'll notice, this was greater than 1, and then we kept multiplying it, and we got a number that was bigger. It increased in value. Just like our money is going to increase in value. The 3,000 is going to increase in value. So now take that 1.486 and multiply it times 3,000. And that's how much money you would have after 5 years if you had put in that 3,000.
Oh, nice.
So again, people go, well, that's not that much money. It's free money. If I offered you $5 for free, you would take it. But I always laugh when kids are like, that's not that much money. You'd take $5.
Can you explain this in words again? Like,
So what's happening, it's the same as the very original stuff we talked about when banks like give you interest for giving them some money to keep. That's all this money would go to a bank. Certificate of deposit, it just means you gave a bank some money.
Okay.
So you gave them $3,000. They said, we're going to pay you 8% interest. Meaning whatever you have with us at the end of technically they're doing it every quarter.
right.
Or at the end of every quarter, we're going to look and see how much you have with us. And we're going to pay you, now they pay 2% every quarter because this is an annual number. So that means every quarter they do in 2%. So 2%, 2%, 2%, 2% is 8%. So at the end of every quarter, they see how much money you have with them, and they give you 2%. So this was 20 times they did that basically, because it was 5 years and they did 4 times per year. So this number here, which is your interest rate plus 1, because we have to make it greater than 1, otherwise the value would go down.
Yeah.
We don't want it to go down because you're getting interest from them. So we just multiply that out 20 times, which I did with using, there's a special function you can use.
Right.